Hey, peace. What's good, world? Thanks for tuning in to another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. I'm the host here, the channel owner, Wood. This is definitely some bite down boxing presented by Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment. Got a couple of things to talk through, so it's impossible to keep this video as short as I would like. Recapping the weekend's fights. The DAZN card, Garcia versus Vargas, Mikey Garcia's Jesse Vargas, and we also have news on the rematch or the third fight to make the trilogy between Wilder and Fury. Quick note, Shakur Stevenson, I believe, was the one that had the tweet out there that made its rounds, saying that it's been said before. But in regards to Deontay Wilder, that you take a L and you turn around, you had all this other stuff you did. You take this first L and then everybody abandons you, everybody criticizes you, everybody, jumps ship, so on and so forth, turns their back. And on a similar note, on this side of it, when you're covering or talking the sport, presenting updates and details about boxing, you run a YouTube channel and have some boxing on there, you can say a million things in favor of a fighter. You can pick them to win all types of fights. You can predict. You can have predictions in their favor. You can point out great parts about their fighting style, their boxing attributes. You can do all of that. And then as soon as you question one thing, you hate the guy, or you're a hater, or Uncle Tom sellout, it runs the gamut. Similarly, I said the same thing with Antonio Brown in the NFL. You could praise him for years and laugh at all of his end zone dances and celebrations, and you could ride with everything that he was doing. And then as soon as it became out of control, and then you said something then because you thought a line was crossed, then all of a sudden you're hating on a brother. It's weird, man. But anyway, Wilder 3, Fury Wilder, I guess now we flipped the surnames. Fury versus Wilder 3 is going to happen in July. I said this immediately, that there's no way in hell. I mean, barring Wilder not having a leg or a foot, he was going to come right back. That's just how he works. So, July, it's a pretty busy schedule for, a 34-year-old heavyweight. Took some good shots and took some good punishment and whatnot, but he's coming right back. So we'll see how that happens. I mean, how that builds and how the machinery gets ramped up to promote that. One quick note on this before I get to the card. Another thing, man, I ask questions. I'm trying to create discussion. And so I'm sorry if I don't latch on to every little thing that's given to us. Every press release that gets sent out to everybody. The numbers came in. It was 800 to 850,000 was the buy rate for the rematch, the pay-per-view of the rematch. Okay. I think Bob Arum may have come out and said it was 1.2 million or whatever. He had some different numbers, so on and so forth, whatever. It wasn't the numbers that the high end, what everybody had hoped for the betterment of boxing, okay. But what I'm getting at, again, we see boxing we saw the commercials during the Super Bowl, and boxing fan A tells boxing fan B, C, and D, their circle, look at the ads, look at that ad, we're on there. But when you got outside of the regulars that you discuss boxing with, did anybody else tell you that they saw it? Was anybody else happy about it? Did anybody ask about what that was or who those people were? I didn't get that. I never got that. But I remember last year we get the press release that 13.2322, some 13 million fans watched like a 2-minute segment during March Madness featuring Deontay Wilder, where I thought he was excellent in that setting. He was talking about the Auburn kids losing that game, and Auburn Tigers, War Eagle. They lost a game on a technicality. It was a bad call at the end, and I thought he was great. But we're told 13 million people watched it. Okay. I'm an idiot, or I'm being unfair to Deontay because I wonder what that 13 million, how does that translate into when we need it to count for something? And now only, for 800 to 850,000 people bought the pay-per-view. That's only like 6.5% of that 13 million. So I'm just saying, I'm looking for signs of real growth. Like I said, when I came in after the fight, when I went into work, one female asked me about the fight itself. Before the Friday before I left the office, a different female had asked me where could she see the fight, or did theaters have the fight. Other than that, that was the only discussion in non-boxing people. That was the only discussions that I had on that fight. I think one other guy came along at the end of the week, an MMA guy and someone who watched a lot of Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather. But other than that, man, the conversations for it to be on Fox with all the NFL coverage, all of the college football coverage for the Super Bowl, the buzz just never really, caught flame, I just never saw it. So my expectations were a number about what it is. 13.3 million people and only 850,000, come out of that. So taking these numbers and doing something with it versus just trotting the numbers out there, like, how do we build on that? How do you really motivate, and make people go and spend money? Pick up the phone or however you order it. How do you get people? How can you count on people to put their money down on the big night? That's what I'm looking for. Now let me get to this Garcia-Vargas fight. I went down there to DAZN, to check out DAZN's event in the Star at Frisco, at the pretty much the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones practice facility complex, entertainment area out in the middle of not completely nowhere, but it is nothing else out there. It's a big shopping center that they built up over there. That's maybe a half a mile. You can see it from the Star to Frisco. Okay. Quick note just for DAZN, Matchroom Boxing USA. And this is why I haven't done a write-up on this yet. This is why I was like reluctant to do a breakdown on it because of where I sat, where I watched the fights from. So you come in for the media, for the auxiliary media. You come in off of the street. Basically, you get your credentials, and they hand you some stuff and direct you to where you are. You go up into an elevator and go up, and it was a group of us sitting in the if you watch football games and you have the offensive coordinators and the defensive coordinators, and they're in the boxes with the headsets on, talking to each other and all of that. That's where we watched it from. Not completely bad in itself, but you have to take into consideration this. We were on the side where there's the stands below you. It's enclosed. It's glass. So it kind of creates this weird fish tank environment that you're watching the fight from. But it's the fans underneath you. Then down on the floor, it's the floor seats. It's rows and rows and rows of those. And then on the other side of that, is the ring. On the other side of the ring, it's like, 8 rows of media of the media area. And that's where all the production stuff is set up. Why couldn't we have been on that side of the field where we're closer to the action, where we're closer to the fights? To just watch the fights. So, like I said, you're sitting here watching a fight from 70 yards away, plus you're elevated. How the hell do I even know what I'm talking about? There were no monitors in the room, no audio. You know, I need to, at least if the glass wasn't there, maybe I could have got a sense of I could hear something. But it's just us in there. It basically becomes, you put a bunch of boxing fans together and writers and whatnot, it becomes somewhat of a fight party. So, I took some notes and everything, but like I said, I just wasn't comfortable with what my accuracy would be of what I was seeing, what I watched. So now I had to come home and watch the card again to kind of confirm or validate what I think I saw. And then lastly, Errol Spence is there, who, from what I understand, is not really engaging a whole lot with media right now. But Devin Haney is there. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is there. I'll give the PBC this. They have all of these big name and these high value assets walking around. They gather the media, the auxiliary people, and the dudes who get the ringside or the floor access. They have a media room where they will bring fighters in, Deontay Wilder a couple of years ago, Errol Spence Jr. a couple of years ago, Gervonta Davis. They will bring these people into these rooms and for special engagements where, everybody can talk to them and ask questions and do interviews, so on and so forth. Maybe the people down on the floor, I'm assuming Coppinger, Dan Rayfield, Steve Kim, even some of the other sites, the various sites, Fight Hype, I'm sure their people had access to the Diego Pacheco, Alexis Espino, and the others, if you've been watching, on YouTube. So it's just kind of strange, to bring people in, to bring media in, and then you basically have this fishbowl, viewing experience for the evening. And then you did have the post-fight press conference, which, I was grateful for that. But then you go down there and everybody that was on the floor who's had all the great access to everybody all night, you've been waiting out in the hall 10 or 15 minutes, and when they bring you in, all of these people have the first 2 or 3 rows worth of seating. So I'm just saying, man, the media, the little guys, the independent guys, and it was some people in the fishbowl with me who have a nice presence online and who do quite a bit, who have some output. So little weird. Get into the fights, man. Let's start up top. This is already 13 minutes. Let's get, everybody's probably gone. Let me mark down so I can put some time on this thing anyway. Well, let me start at the bottom. I thought Diego Pacheco, and Alexis Espino, I thought they had pretty good fights. Espino was in there against Del Vecchio Savage. I thought Savage was a good test for him. He presented a threat early on. He had his game that he was working. I think he was southpaw. He was a tough kid. Made Espino work. Made him make some adjustments. I thought Espino did make those adjustments, boxed him well. Imposed his size advantage at times, landed his shots, and won the fight, and won it, convincingly. So, but I think Truck Simpson, let me not even go into that, but Savage had fought Truck Simpson, I believe, last time out. And just to get an idea of who's who and how these different guys, what they do against these same matchups. So I would check that out. Check into Truck Simpson, who fought Savage also. Pacheco fought Riojas, I believe was the cat's name. Pacheco is a pretty tall for the division. I like what he did throughout his fight. I like how he turned it up at times. Good, consistent fight for I believe it was 6 rounds. I'm pretty sure it was 6 rounds. Could have been 8, but solid outing for him. Riojas presented a good test, good challenge. and he didn't get the stoppage. I don't think that one was a stoppage, but good outing for both of those two guys. People that Matchroom Boxing, is trying to develop. Madrimo versus Navarro ended in a TKO six round technical knockout. I'm interested to see where Madrimov fits in the scene. This was a WBA eliminator, super welterweight. He's got a lot of movement, a lot of footwork. You see him do the backflip. He's a real agile guy. Switches, stances and whatnot. He was multiple steps ahead of Navarro. Navarro had some decent timing in the first round. I think he was catching Madrimov like in the middle when he was going with his lateral movement. Navarro had some moments, but it gradually got worse and worse for him. And like I said, Madrimov, I like good body work. He could strike. He could set up his shots well from outside and use his footwork to get in and get out. It'll be interesting to see how that matches up with anything and whether or not, what is that? Rosario has the WBA title right now, WBA and IBF. So Rosario was like not PBC, I don't want to say proper, but I mean, he seems to be a bit of a free agent too. So is that something that they could put together? I want to see how he fits in and how his style meshes with the rest of the guys at super welterweight, which is obviously one of the better divisions in boxing. Another TKO, fifth round stoppage for Joseph Parker over Shondell Winters. Winters was 208, 210 pounds. Parker, he looked to be significantly heavier, a bigger guy. There was a small margin of error for Winters to get a fight. I talked to his chief second, who happened to be Montel Griffin, a former light heavyweight contender and briefly a champion and whatnot with the disqualification against Roy. He said, they were trying to get another 2 rounds in was where they really wanted to start really trying to work. Before that, they were just trying to look for windows, look for openings, play some shots, see it. These are heavyweights. You place the right shot, you might stun a guy, and then you can go on a good run or something. I'm not gonna lie, it was some Chicago guys that I was sitting next to. They happened to really be there with Winters or there to support Winters and Griffin, and I think they thought Winters did a little better than what I saw him doing. When you have to fight so cautiously because of that narrow margin of error, he was waiting quite a bit, and playing it safe. And as you see, when the end came, it came quick, So, but Griffin mentioned that he could probably move back down to. He probably would move down to cruiserweight. It was a hell of an opportunity to face a guy like Parker. If you could upset him and then look what is in front of you, look what opportunity would be in front of you. So that's kind of a business decision that some of these lower level guys, these more, because Jerry Forrest was supposed to fight Murat Gassiev, and he was a guy. If he would have gotten a defeat against Gassiev, what would that have been for his next move? So good effort from Winters. It just wasn't his night. It was like I said, when the chances are narrow for you to defeat a guy, a lot of these guys are courageous enough to step in and take these assignments. Parker, though, I think he sets himself up for a good, his next fight to be something exciting and meaningful for his career. Julio Cesar Martinez and Jay Harris. Jay Harris showed a lot of heart. Very durable guy. Attacked well and returned fire himself. But Martinez did get, I believe it was at least one knockdown. But he just beat on him. He beat the guy up for 12 rounds. I thought it was earlier parts in the fight where Harris would be out of there. Or they they would stop the fight. You know, his corner would stop the fight. I actually missed the 12th round because I was doing a little interview. Check that interview out with Montel Griffin. It's on the playlist already. But yeah, it was just 12 good rounds of action from Martinez, who led the way most of the rounds. It was a wide decision, in his favor, and that's pretty much what I saw from sitting there. Another good outing for Julio Cesar Martinez underneath the guidance of Reynoso. So Eddie Reynoso, I believe. So I always get the father and son mixed up, but that was dope. Calify and Gonzalez ended in another TKO. 9th round, should have just been a KO. I think that, because he got him with the right hand, with that big right hand, and the referee just kind of called it off. I mean, he was laying there, he was gone. Gonzalez, man, it was a little unsure what we were going to get. Only 2 fights in the last 2 years, a little injury, coming off of the 2 big losses to Sorang Vasai a couple of years ago. He came back in December. Gonzalez came back in December, had 4 rounds of work, got that guy out of there. This is a fight I got to go back and watch, man. I mean, Gonzalez just is such a complete fighter, man. Yafai, in my opinion, so when you can't hear the punches, I'm watching behind this sheet of glass, can't feel the energy of the crowd. I don't know, man. I got to watch this on TV to get the full effects of it. Gonzalez just was dominant, man. I mean, he was pushing the pace. He boxed when he wanted to box. He was fighting inside. Yafai was overmatched in that area, outclassed inside. Gonzalez could bang. Actually, obviously he got the knockdown. He could box when he needed to box. He could pressure. He could pressure without even punching. Just his positioning and whatnot just was too much for Yafai. And then the knockdown sequence, just to be tenacious, man. I mean, just it was awesome to see that. That was part of the trip, was just to see Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, in person. And to see, one of these fighters that just, like I said, to be that versatile, that well-rounded, to be doing it as long as he had. I mean, the dude is awesome. With him going right back, him going back up against a guy, El Gallo, Juan Francisco Estrada, the same way that Gonzalez is everything that he is, with the youth right now on the side of Estrada, and Estrada being really locked in right now with his training and preparation and his versatility and being able to have a more range. I just don't know if that matches up well for Gonzalez. By range, I mean, Estrada can get in and out. He can get left to right. He can use his footwork to not be there the way that Yafai was there to get in, get off, and then get out. I don't know. Gonzalez seems like he would need to be a little closer to Estrada. Would need to stay close to him to beat him down and outscoring and get a decision. But if Gonzalez wants to do it and they do it, I'm there for it. Definitely. The main event, Mikey Garcia and Jesse Vargas. I think it was a 5th round knockdown. Good start from Jesse Vargas. And I pretty much called this the way that it played out. I see people everywhere with this fight. The one card was 114, 113, only with the knockdown deciding it. I thought it was easily a 7-5 fight, maybe a 8-4 fight. I thought after the 2 rounds, the 5th and 6th maybe, when Garcia was, when Garcia got the knockdown and kind of beat the fight out of Vargas. I just thought it slowed down a lot. I really wasn't pleased with the second half of the fight. I thought Garcia was a little too cautious. Maybe And he did some of this with Lipinets, you know, and to say after establishing himself and knocking Lipinets, I think he got a knockdown against Lipinets. He kind of just went into this lull and just boxed for a couple of rounds. And then Lipinets came back and hurt him or landed a good shot, maybe in the 9th, 10th round or something like that. And I just don't think Vargas, I thought he was, had accumulated, you know, enough, had sustained enough damage to where he really wasn't that big of a threat in the second half of the fight. Yeah, he had some rounds where he boxed pretty decently and scored, but I just felt like he wasn't really a threat over the last fourth of the fight, you know, 9 or 10, 11, and 12. I didn't. Now, he landed that good shot in the 12th round before the buzzer. I mean, for the bell, the final bell, and he did some things here and there. But I just felt like when it was a fight and it was still interesting and whatnot, I felt like Garcia controlled most of that action and landed the shots to really downgrade Vargas and kind of neutralize him for the second half of the fight. That's just kind of how I saw it. I'm not mad at those who thought Vargas did better. I don't think it was a 114. I don't think it was that close, you know, despite what Vargas and Eddie Hearn wanted to say. Moving forward, I think I'd like to see Garcia against Garcia. Danny, I think that's an interesting fight. If they want to make the Pacquiao fight, I wouldn't be too mad at that one. But again, I just feel like Garcia is a better fighter at 140. But he's in a position to where, I said this before, a lot of fighters are locked into where they are because taking significant risk, fighting above your best division, your prime division, it doesn't pay that well for everybody. If you can go up and fight at welterweight and get $7 million a fight, it makes sense. CENTS. But again, a lot of guys who might be at 135 and 140, you know, you're not going to get the same payoff, you know, for taking a risk of fighting bigger fighters. Plus, there's the fact that, and Danny Garcia would be in my opinion, would be a real threat to really stop Mikey, in my opinion. Not early, but whereas the situation with facing a Manny Pacquiao is Manny is an older fighter who you don't expect to be as lively, you know, the entire way. And then he's slowed down a little bit. You know, we don't really know what Manny is every time we see him from now on until the end. We really don't know what he is. So Mikey can play around with that. And he's big enough, he's done enough to be able to get that fight if they work it out. But like I said, a lot of these guys, that money's not, that reward is not there for those risks. So anyway, man, this thing is 28 minutes. I apologize for some of the earlier commentary on different things. But like I said, it was quite a few things to talk through. You know, if I'd have spoken with a couple of these guys at the fight, I could have just let that do the talking for me. So anyway, bite down boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. 1.